Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hard Nine podcast. Today is August the 19th. The Cardinals enter this off day Monday, 2 games under 500, 11 games behind the Brew Crew, who just, by the way, swept the Guardians, and 5 games out of the wild card. Things continue to spiral.
Yeah, I think Fangraphs has them at below 5% chance to make the playoffs. And
So
that's
you're
about what it feels like, right? It's gonna take a 10 game run that nobody sees coming. I'm not gonna say they're out of it. Like I'm still watching the games. It takes one really good week. And the Braves just lost Austin Riley. So it takes one good week for the Cardinals and one bad week for the Braves. And we could be here next week saying we're 2 games back and who knows. But as of now, I think we have to be realistic of where they are right now before that unexpected hot stretch that probably won't come.
especially when you take a look at this week, you've got the Brewers at home. Then you go to Minnesota, another playoff team who, by the way, if nobody pays attention to, they're a
A good
fun
team.
baseball team to watch. They really
Yeah.
are. Like they
Especially
are
when
fun
Royce
to watch, and
Lewis
they're
and
getting
Buxton are healthy
getting Buxton back soon, I believe, right? Like in the next week.
soon.
Then you've got San Diego. Well, we all know the storyline there, which we'll probably talk a little bit about later, who their guy leading the way is. They got 4 with them, and then they go to Yankee Stadium to play the Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Stanton, Garrett Cole, fill in the blank Yankees. Look, if they have a stretch in them, and it is this stretch, then I'm going to go back to believing in them. But I do not have any faith in this stretch. I think this, with the way our starting pitching has looked, this could be an ugly stretch for Cardinal baseball. Now, with that being said, if there's anything more on brand than the St. Louis Cardinals, they'll go 500 over this next stretch.
Right. And the problem is, like, with this stretch, we all knew it was coming and it was going to be a gauntlet. Like, we were looking at this in March and saying, wow, they better be in a playoff spot soundly, or August is going to be really tough for them to stay in that playoff spot. The problem would have been, like, if they went against the Reds, Royals, Cubs, who'd they just play? Dodgers, all the who are obviously really good. But that like 10 game stretch where it was pretty hard, but not like a gauntlet by any means. If they went 5-5 in that stretch, we would say that's probably not good enough. And I think they're 1-6 in the last 7 games or something like that, which is obviously not even close to good enough. So, yeah, it's gonna be tough. I mean, there's no hope until there is for me. Like I'm not hoping that they make the playoffs until they give me a reason to where they're, oh wow, they're 2 games back or they're 1 game back, and then it's a legitimate shot to get in. For now, I'm not going to even sit here and say they have a chance. They're not out of it by any means, but they've given me no reasons, besides Sonny Gray and Andre Palante looking good this series to believe anything's turning here soon.
Since our last podcast, by the way, thank you. We had incredible comments. Some of them were fantastic. Some of them, Caleb does continue to take ricochets quite a bit, which I'm here for. So we're all good on that. But while you are tuning, hit that subscribe button. We're getting closer to the 800 mark. Obviously, our goal by the end of the season is to be at 1,000. You guys are helping us. Thank you so much. If you're on Spotify or Apple, those numbers continue to soar. Thank you guys so much. However, any comments you want to address from our fantastic viewers who did have some really good comments this week? Anything you need to address?
Well, there's a couple things I think are just like maybe it's on us for not communicating clearly enough on some of our opinions. Like there was one that came in today that I didn't really understand that said, that we're blaming the entire coaching staff instead of Mozeliak. I don't think that's anything we've ever said. It's all on Mozeliak. And also, by the way, if the coaching staff is lackluster, guess who that's on? Mozeliak. Okay, so he oversees everything. I think it's fair once again to criticize the coaching staff because once Dylan Carlson's killing it with the Rays, good for him. Walk off single yesterday, 3 homers since he's been there for what, 20 days? Not even nine, almost around 20
Oh,
days.
almost a
He
150 OPS at last time I
well,
checked, 140 something.
he hadn't hit a home run for the Cardinals in like 13 months. He's hit 3 in 20 days. It's fair to criticize this coaching staff, I think. That goes from Ollie down to Brandon Allen and the assistant coaches. I don't, I just don't understand. I don't understand. We've criticized Mo more than about any
Does
podcast.
does feel
Um,
like we were very fair on saying it starts, and I think we were even fair on
it
it
starts with
starts
the win.
above Mo. Like,
Yeah, it starts with
right.
it's everyone because it's
But don't
composed.
stop the comments. I appreciate them. If that's how you took it, I think it's good for us to clarify.
Yeah,
They're
and
they're
like
bef- before we move on, there's a couple things that have popped up in the comments and have popped up in social media that I would like to get your take on, because I do think it is a very fair thing to talk about right now, especially with the Padres coming to town. And that is the idea that if Mike Shildt were here, this team for some reason would either be in a playoff spot, would be in first place, and that Mike Shildt was some amazing manager. Let me just preface this by saying I have spent this week, since a lot of these comments came in, because I do like to kind of address these, looking back through my social media in 2019. This is pre the 17 game winning streak that happened at the end that thrust them into the playoffs. Am I correct on that?
2021.
Oh, okay. So never mind then. So it was that. So 2019 were the ones I was looking at.
That was
So,
when they
but
went to
also
the
it goes into 2021.
2019 was when they went to the NLCS.
Yes, correct. But the comments from a lot of the people who I've now seen talking about Shildt are the same ones who at the time were saying, legitimately, no lie, the same shit we've been saying about Ali right now. When Lane Thomas wasn't playing instead of Dexter Fowler, you had moved Tommy Edman to the outfield for literally no reason. That was going on. Randy Arozarena, you had O'Neill, you had Bader, you had all those guys kind of in the minors that everyone was talking about bringing up at that point in time. And that was the thing with Mike Shildt. And I got into it a little bit with a guy on Twitter, not like meanly, but about how Shildt, and it doesn't seem like this is a hidden fact or a hidden idea, that he wasn't great with young players and was not adaptable to quickly getting them in the game. And everybody wanted to say, look at Jackson Merrill. Okay, let's stop. Look at the rest of his team right now.
Also, it's possible that he's learned from past mistakes and
correct
as a manager. Like, I think there's a lot of problems with Mike Shildt that were not necessarily released to the public that I've heard rumblings of just from Jim Hayes and stuff online. He said this is available if you want to go look at it. About there were problems within the coaching staff with how Mike Shildt was running things. That he was not always the best person to work under, is what I'll say, to put it nicely, because I don't have specifics. He also, if you remember, Tommy Edman in 2021 came out and said our hitting philosophy doesn't make sense. Okay. Mike Shildt took that and took it over and said, hey, Jeff Albert, we're not using your hitting philosophy anymore. Jeff Albert basically wasn't doing anything for like the last 2 months of that season. Now, if you want to say, well, they won 17 straight games after he did that, fair. I don't understand how that happened. But the next year, Jeff Albert took it over, and 2022 is the best offensive season I've seen since the Alan Craig MVP vote years in 2013. So there were a lot of issues with Mike Shildt outside of just philosophical differences. That was just honestly Mo helping Mike Shildt by not airing him out and allowing him to get this opportunity. Because I think if he would have come out and said everything Mike Shildt did to get fired, Mike Shildt probably would have had a tough time getting this Padres job. That's just the way it works, because there was a lot of things he was apparently resistant to that most of baseball is not resistant to. That being said, you give Mike Shildt credit for being really good with the Padres. Like, he probably has learned some things and employed new things. He has a really damn good team too. That probably helps. He had good years here. He never had a losing season as a Cardinal manager. The way I come down on this is I think managers get too much credit when they win and not enough when they lose. Sans Bruce Bochy, because we've seen his impact all over. But even then, like, go look at the 2011, 2013 Giants teams, and they were sandwiched in between that dynasty where they were like sub 500 teams. And with Mike Shildt specifically, he took over a team who managed the Padres last year.
Oh, the guy who's in Seattle now.
No, he's in San Francisco. Bob Melvin.
San Francisco, that's what I meant. Sorry,
Bob Melvin, widely regarded as a top 5 manager in the game. Did the Padres make the playoffs last year, or did they underperform?
They underperformed.
So guess who's playing better this year? Manny Machado.
Yeah.
Guess who they revamped their entire rotation by trading? Juan Soto. Like, Jackson Merrill has been awesome. Xander Bogaerts has been much better since he's been healthy.
They also went out and got a guy named Dylan Cease who's in the Cy Young talk.
Right. They have a more well-rounded team. We said at the beginning of the year that I thought losing Soto and Hader are massive blows, but Robert Suarez has been arguably the best closer in baseball besides Clase. And then you've got Manny Machado, who's finally healthy again. Like, baseball is not about managers, I don't think, as much as people want to make it about them. Like, now, can they make mistakes? I think Ollie's made a lot of mistakes recently that have contributed to them losing.
We agree.
But I don't think that Mike Shildt is the secret sauce to help this organization.
Can I tell you what is interesting? And I think it's a really good thing for fans. For myself, who was always the manager, is in control. It's a guy who coached high school baseball. That's as far as it went. Like, I'm not putting myself into the minds of any of these guys, but for 25 years, like, I was it essentially, right? Except I was not the guy who always had control of the players. That sometimes came from other sources, right? But it's very interesting to me to look back and make the connections that we made to Matheny from when Shildt was the manager. It was like very loud. Oh, this is very reminiscent of the Matheny days where Matheny was the veterans guy. Like, as a former player, the veterans guy. Shildt sort of did that same thing a little bit, especially at the beginning. I'm not saying he hasn't changed. I'm just saying, but now we're kind of seeing it.
Especially.
Is it not ironic, or maybe that's not the word I'm looking for there, because that might be more of an Alanis Morissette reference, because she never got ironic right in the song at all. However, great song, great performer, just not most of that shit's not ironic. But to be fair, we're doing the same thing with Ollie, which does make you think that maybe Mo's thumbprint on what has happened with roster construction at all times, with playing time with guys, with keeping guys down way too long, or potentially putting them in positions not to be successful. That's, I mean, if you're going to hire 3 managers, and we've all kind of said the same things about all 3 of them through the last 13 years, that kind of tells you who's at fault, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's also part of this where, like, if you're a manager, right, you're Ollie Marmol, who got his job after Mike Shildt got fired, and a lot of reasons because of how he was disagreeing with people in the organization, whether that's Mozeliak, the hitting coaches, everything that the Cardinals were trying to do, Mike Shildt was kind of flying in the face of in 2021, it looked like. If you're Ollie, you're not going to come in and just stick your neck out and say, well, you're building this roster, I'm going to not use it the way you intended. Like, if you don't use the roster the way Mozeliak intends, and then you lose last year you lose 91 games, you're getting fired immediately because you didn't use the roster he gave you the way he saw it. Now, is that right? Probably not, because I think Ollie probably could do some better things. I also think some of these decisions Ollie's making that aren't great decisions probably are his decisions. Like, I don't think I can't imagine a world where John Mozeliak wants Jordan Walker to be a platoon bat. That I don't think he would want that. That doesn't make any sense to me based on everything Mozeliak's done in his entire career of bringing up young guys and wanting them to play immediately.
Let me ask you this then. For example. Let me ask you this then. What did is he not pulling Ollie in every day and saying, bro, we gave you Jordan, like, play him every. That's my question. Because if either A, that is happening and Ollie's saying, fuck off, I'm not doing it, which is a problem potentially in its own right, even though I think a lot of us would like our manager to say that's not what's best. We saw Tony do that for years. That's a whole different level of what happened here, right? I mean, that's a whole different level. However, it's either that or Mozeliak is not saying that, which, if you're the Pobo, then what are you doing with your prized possession who we've been hearing about for 4 years? Like, so it's one of those two.
I don't get it. And for the Jordan Walker situation specifically, we can get into that a bit, I guess. I'm getting more and more frustrated with it because on the surface, like, it didn't make any sense baseball wise, trying to win, to have him up here only playing against lefties, that like benching him every 3 out of every 4 games most of the time. I think they face 10 righties in a row as it's currently scheduled. Obviously, they can call guys up and spot starts. They can change that. But also, it's probably killing the dude's confidence because he's just flat out not good against lefties. I don't know why. It makes no sense to me. How a right-handed power bat can be bad against lefties. Him up, and now he's going 0 for 3 every game because he's not good at hitting left-handed pitching. And what's that do for his confidence he was finally starting to build? So the entire, like, it sucks. Like, hey, go hit Clayton Kershaw. He goes 0 for 3, and then he's out of the game. It's like, what do you want? Like, how's the guy going to build any sort of ground here? Like, build any sort of traction?
Especially when you look at the splits, which suggests he's very strong against right-handers. And then we saw the other night, he gets in a position to hit, and they pinch hit for him.
You want to hear? Yeah. And you want to hear something crazy? Is my internet okay, by the way? I just got a message that said it's unstable.
Yeah, you were a little sketchy there, but it's probably your glasses. Like, the internet's not used to seeing you in your glasses, so it's potentially that was the problem.
Was it rough, or was it okay?
No, it was just literally a 2-second. You got a glitch in the matrix, but now you're back.
Yeah, and if you look at Jordan Walker's OPS in his career against righties, I understand most of that's last season, and this season he's been bad. Okay, I get it. But he's like better career-wise than Nootbaar and Gorman and like all these guys, Donovan, like legitimately better OPS-wise. Much smaller sample, but you can make a case he's like a top 5 hitter on the team in his career against right-handed pitching on the team, like legitimately, and he's not even getting a chance. Like, I love Tommy Pham to death. I love the addition. It's absolutely sucks that we got that guy and he's probably not going to play in the playoffs for us. But I just don't get it. Makes no
Let
sense
me
to me.
ask you. Let me ask you a couple other questions that I've been thinking about a lot lately. Just we saw at the beginning of the season the talk about needing to bring in Brandon Crawford and Matt Carpenter because they wanted the veteran presence.
Mhm.
In Ollie's first year, 2022, they won 93 games. I think is the correct number there.
Yeah, 93.
And obviously hosted a home playoff series where we know what happened there. But either way, right? So it's not like he doesn't know how to manage, right? We saw that. But that team had Wayno, it had Pujols, and it had Molina. All three who obviously had put their mark on the organization for the last 20 years, right? Um, it sure feels like last night, and I say all this to say this. Last night I've been watching a lot of Little League World Series. There's some we can get into that later. There's a lot of things that I have a problem with that whole event. But last night, Aaron Boone, he came to the booth and I think he was in there with Xavier Scruggs and whoever X was doing it with, and they asked him about the leadership of Judge, Soto, Stanton, Cole, and essentially he went on a little run there about how it's so nice to be able to manage with these guys when they're healthy because they run everything. They literally everybody looks up to them and they follow suit and he literally use the phrase step in line, right, with those guys and what they're doing and how they prepare and how they work. It feels like we had those guys in 2022 when it was and the whole Yachty thing leaving for Puerto Rico, whatever. It was still Yachty, right? And we had
Yeah.
Albert and we had Wayno and we had those guys there. But it sure does feel like that's not Nolan Arenado and that's not Paul Goldschmidt. And to me, that's where it almost has to start if you're looking at towards 25 is I don't know the answer on who to bring in. It's not Matt Carpenter, it's not Brandon Crawford, it's not former guys who played for the Cardinals either, as far as I'm concerned, but it does need to be somebody who does take care, who can do that, who can be your superstar and be your leader. Like if you look at the other teams who win, it's very apparent why Philadelphia wins. Look at who their leaders are on that team, but they're also their superstars and fill in the blank. Now, Baltimore, an anomaly a little bit. However, their stars are young. They're still their leaders, but they've talked about Kyle Gibson in the past, putting his print on them. We've talked about
Corbin
all that.
Burns.
What do you see in that? Obviously we're at 36,000 miles up. We're not in the clubhouse. I'm not trying to call out Goldie or Nato, but I do feel like that's not a new statement there. That's not something I pulled out of thin air. And it does feel like that has, when you don't have those guys as your guys who are supposed to be the guys,
Mhm.
it makes it tough to win in Major League Baseball.
I want. I don't know. This one's weird to me because I don't know what the answer is. Because I wonder how different this team would be if those two were playing at legitimate superstar levels. Like you talked about Judge and Soto, they're having like legit. They might legitimately go down as the best tandem of all time in terms of how
Right.
they're hitting right now.
Since
Like more
Garrett
than
Ruth,
Ruth and
since
Garrett.
right.
Like
Yeah.
they're even been better than those two relative to the league, not counting stats wise. Um, so I don't know because like if Goldie was a 900 OPS and Nado was 850, but he was playing superstar level defense again and hitting 35 homers, are we talking about leadership? I don't know because last year with San Diego, who was being called out for not being a good leader, Juan Soto.
Right.
So I don't know the answer. Like I think it's unfair to a degree. I also do think there is value in having a guy on the bench that is a leader that isn't, Matt Carpenter's not tasked with the role of going in there every day and being ready to play and he can kind of sit with young guys. I just don't know. Like I don't know the answer because I don't know the clubhouse dynamic, but I do think we wouldn't be talking about this if those two were superstars still.
That's very valid and a very
Because if they
good
were
point. And
superstars, like what's their record right now? They're probably in the division race, I would
right.
guess.
Yeah, and they're definitely one of the top three wild cards
Yeah, they're in the
most likely.
playoffs, and we're talking right now about the rotation and how are they going to piece that together the rest of the year, and
Yeah,
we're not talking about all the problems that we have.
I would agree with exactly what you said because obviously it's the chicken and the egg argument, right? We
Mhm.
talk about do you have fun because you win or do you win because you have fun, right? So there's that question, but also like Yankee fans have been screaming to fire Aaron Boone for 3 years. Now all of a sudden everyone loves Aaron Boone. Why? Well, Judge is healthy. Stanton's playing well now that he's back. I mean, he was playing. Oh, he's doing what Stanton needed to do.
In home runs.
You got Juan Soto. Garrett Cole's back in the rotation. You found Luis Heel. Like you don't have a closer. We know that. We know that they do
And
not
blown
have a
saves
closer,
for Clay
but
Holmes.
it does seem like that is a really good answer. I just thought that was interesting from Booney because I do think when your stars are playing well, everybody does fall in line. And I also just wonder if when Nato and Goldie don't play well, as they haven't the past year and a half, past year, whatever, however you want to put that. I don't know the answer to that. It's another age old question that you'll never be able to quantify.
Yeah. It's also like hard to sit here and, I find it difficult to like blame Arenado for not being as good of a leader as maybe he was in 2022 that we didn't hear about. When, you've gone 3 for 4 with 2 homers, it's a lot easier to tell a young guy, hey, this is what I'm seeing. And then when you're 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts and you're trying to figure it out yourself.
Right.
It's like I do think that's something. Now, that's why they brought in Tommy Pham, right? That's why they brought in Matt Carpenter and Brandon Crawford to take that load off of those guys while they're not playing well. It just hasn't, that mix hasn't worked. But I think like it would be working if they were hitting well or doing
What
anything.
do you think? What do you think this organization? I mean, since you have not liked him since day one, what do you think this organization has against Luke and Baker?
It's not that I don't like him. First off, second
I
off,
was kidding, obviously.
I know, but people probably think I don't like him because he's playing so much. I don't know why he's not up here over Jordan Walker. They said the outfield thing that makes no sense because you have Victor Scott in center field every day. Against lefties, you're gonna have Tommy Pham out there, and then you can put Donovan out there if you want to. You can have options. Like it makes no. You have like 5 outfielders, so why do you need another one? I don't think they have anything against him. I don't think they believe he's good. And
Yeah,
it's
isn't it wild? Like very rare. I mean, not that there aren't guys out there. Like there's a lineage of them, I'm sure. But I mean, you're talking about a guy who set the AAA home run record at Memphis. Like he's hitting nukes every night. It feels like it just seems he only has 90 at bats, I think, at the major league level. Why not give him September? Like, do you think they're scared to expose him, but they're not trading him anyway? So that's
probably has no
maybe
trade
honestly, there's
value,
no
to be
interest. We
honest.
don't know that.
I guarantee he has no trade value. Like there's no way. Like
Okay.
maybe
So then why not? Okay, if that's the case, then let's go ahead and get him up here and just see if maybe he catches lightning in a bottle for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Then maybe either A, you got something for the future, or B, you do have trade value.
Yeah, I think their comment would be that they don't think there's a place to put him because they want to play pot hits against lefties. Now, I don't agree with that, but I think that's what they would say.
Yeah, let's segue from that a little bit into what next year. Obviously, there's been talk about the Goldie extension, which we have come out adamantly against. But what do you do? Like, you can't play Alec Burleson every day against lefties. Like right now, the way he hits, he's like one of the lowest in Major League Baseball against lefties. It was
Yeah, but his at
WRC.
bats aren't like bad against lefties. It's weird. He hits a lot of ground balls against him. I think I think the best thing for this organization would be for next year not to have expectations. And to play him every day against lefties. And to play Gorman every day if he's here. And to play Wynn every day and Walker every day and Newbar every day and not have the expectations of winning. I think that'd be the best thing that can happen. It's not going to happen because ownership won't allow that. But I think, like, who knows, right? Like we said this about Dylan Carlson against righties. He's playing against righties right now and doing pretty well. Who knows what Alec Burleson could do in an entire season of playing every single day? I don't know. But I know that giving him a chance might be beneficial for 2026 because maybe then he figures something out. What if Jordan Alvarez was a platoon bat? I'm not saying he's going to be Jordan Alvarez, so please don't comment that. What if Jordan Alvarez was never given a chance against left-handed pitching?
That's valid.
Then maybe he's not this freak that's even better against lefties than he is against righties. Kyle Tucker, same way. Bryce Harper, obviously always been great against lefties. I just he hasn't been good this year, but if this year continues this way and they don't make the playoffs, I would be fully on board with just saying these are the 9 guys we're committing to. Pick the 9 guys and say you guys are playing every day.
We don't trust them to do that though. But yes.
No, I don't trust Mo to do it, and he shouldn't be doing it.
Right. You brought him up, so let's talk about him for a minute. I got seeing a lot of people, and I had some come at me a little bit about it. Everybody knows we're big Nolan Gorman fans, right? We know this year it's not gone as we wanted it to go.
Horrible.
No one knows that more than Nolan Gorman, right?
Okay.
No one knows that. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden, it's now, he can't play at the major league level. It's time to move on. Let me just get this out, and then I want your reaction. 1, he's 24 years old. 2,
I think he's 23.
He's 24. He's 24 now. As we have seen, Major League Baseball is hard. Major League Baseball is really hard, and we know that, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
But 3, how often do we hear our fans scream about getting a left-handed power bat, and two young players to see them through? But then when they struggle, cast them off. So what happens is we trade Gorman. Like, what do you want us to trade Gorman at his lowest value, by the way, and
Yeah,
get somebody
exactly.
back? And then he goes to fill in the blank, becomes great. And then you know what those same fans are going to do? Oh, well, we did it. Fucking Mo did it again. We did it again. Well, you wanted him out because you don't believe in him. We just saw an 805 OPS plus or OPS from him last year. No, eight, whatever it was.
It was over
One,
800 and he hit
yeah,
27
and over
homers.
100 OPS plus 27 home runs from a 23-year-old. And yes, he's struggling. He strikes out way too much. But you and I have talked about maybe a revamp in coaching staff. Maybe, yes, I want to go away from the Cardinals, but maybe Ryan Ludwig is the answer with what he's done with a lot of guys down at AAA. I don't know that. I don't know
I
that
don't know.
answer.
I can't
I
say I
don't know
do.
that answer. But what address that a little bit for me, because it's really given me a headache. And I think, like, I'm not saying he's going to be Kyle Schwarber. That's the comp. I get it. I'm not saying he's going to be a perennial all-star. I'm not saying he's going to be a perennial gold glove winner, but he's 24 years old with a guy with a ceiling of 30 plus home runs in the major league at the
With four
major league
years of
level.
team control left.
Correct.
I have an idea. Get someone in here that can help him. Get someone in here that can help Jordan Walker. Get somebody in here that doesn't make us have to send people down every time they struggle. How about that? How many times do other teams, good organizations, just send players down when they struggle immediately because they don't feel like their major league coaching staff can help them? Like for me, like I said this at the beginning of the year, the fact that Jordan Walker had to go down again to me was pretty damning against the coaching staff. It was like showing no belief that they can fix him. Paul Goldschmidt, Ken Rosenthal, again, the second time this has happened, Ken Rosenthal said Paul Goldschmidt still is saying he doesn't know what he's doing wrong.
Right.
How does he not know? No one's found the flaw because you can literally just put his swings from 2022 and 2024 side by side and show him that he's a hitch in his swing. That he's late on everything. And he doesn't know. So I like bring somebody in here that can help young guys, man. Like how many young guys in other organizations have years like this where it looks pretty rough, but then the next year they turn it on, they figure it out. The
A,
Cardinals don't have anyone that gets
a
better.
bunch.
Like Mason Wynn's been awesome this year. I don't have any faith in this coaching staff to help him reach the next level, which would be like a perennial all-star. Like that's what he's on pace to be at the age of 22 doing what he's doing. I don't think this coaching staff can help him get there because they haven't helped anyone else get there. Tyler O'Neill was never the same guy after 2021. Injuries were a part of it, but just when he was on the field, he wasn't. He goes to Boston. He still had injury problems, but he's been just as good as he was in 2021 there.
Let me ask you this question. And I brought up Ryan Ludwig, but but we got early on in the podcast about the Shildt, Matheny, Ali kind of same arguments, right? To be fair, in the last 13, 14 years, what coach has helped one of those young guys get
Jeff
to that
Albert.
spot? Huh?
Jeff Albert.
Okay.
That's the
So,
answer, right?
but you're not going to go out and bring back Jeff Albert, I
No,
think.
I know, but I'm just saying, like Newbar got way better. Donovan came up and he was great, and O'Neill, right? He helped O'Neill a lot. He told O'Neill to pull fly balls in the air because that's how you hit home runs.
But now people are mad at that we want launch angle because they want Whitey ball back.
Oh, they're all mad that Mason Wynn said he's swinging hard.
Right,
What is
right. It's
yeah.
unbelievable. Some of these
But you
people
wanted
like
Bryce Harper, who doesn't swing hard ever. He
correct.
definitely doesn't have back problems from swinging hard. That's definitely not a thing. Um, I yeah, I mean, just if they're gonna bring in Ryan Ludwig, if that's the answer, like I know you just threw him out there, then you've got to bring in an analytical minded guy with him, and it's got to almost be a co-hitting coach. They need to get back to analytics. Like, and as much as people in here are going to hate that I said that, and oh boy, I'm gonna get roasted for it. They need to get back to where these other organizations are, where there are things that these teams are doing that Jeff Albert was doing in 2022 that just maximized your potential, maximized Arenado and Goldie and Albert Pujols, who was 40, whatever, 87 years old or whatever he was, and hit 20 whatever home runs because he was pulling balls in the air. Like this is what we have to get someone back in here that's doing that. I'm not saying Turner Ward isn't, but I am saying whatever message he's giving is not it's not working. So they need to find someone who will. And that's completely on hopefully Heimblum to figure that out.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. If it's not, I think we're in for another long
It can't be
2025.
like it can't be Mo. And Mo's had a great run here, a fantastic run. It's over. Same with Gersh and Flores. I'm not saying those guys don't deserve an opportunity. I'm saying they need someone from outside that's going to come
Who's
in.
the other guy? Who's the old head that does the scouting?
Gary LaRock.
There we go. He's got to go too.
Oh, here's the thing though, scouting's been really good. It's been the player development has been bad. Like they scouted Gorman, they scouted Walker, they scouted these guys with great tools that were top 20 prospects in baseball. Walker was number one at one point. You've got to be able to develop them.
Hold on, isn't there an argument just to play devil's advocate that they've actually developed offensive players pretty well? They've just succeeded once they've left the big league team here in St. Louis. Like if
No,
you
that's
look
not
around,
developing. That's scouting.
but what I'm saying is they were good in the minor leagues, and then they get to
Right.
St. That's all I'm
But you're
saying.
not
They were
developing
developed
players. You're
when
not
they got here.
developing. Are you developing players to be good in the minor leagues or to be good in major leagues?
I'm not arguing. What I'm saying is once they left the minor leagues to come to St. Louis, there was no further development. That seems to be the
I think the
problem.
mind. Yeah. I mean, it's a fair point. Like a lot of these guys come up and they're good immediately.
That's
It's about maintaining development, I guess, in the big leagues that
correct.
they need to get better at.
That's yeah, that's
Which
kind
is
of what I'm
still to
saying.
me a
Like
part of development, or like it's still
it
part of
is,
it.
but all I'm trying to say is it feels to me like the minor league developers, the people in charge of development, did their job with a whole lot of these guys and got them to the show. And now it's up to the coaches who are in that dugout and in that clubhouse every day to get those guys to the next level and do what you said and maximize potential. That's all I'm trying to say. If you look around the league, there are a lot of former Cardinals who came through our minor league system who are now doing very well in the major leagues
Yeah.
because they are progressing in a system that is helping them get to the next level. That's
It
all I'm
also
saying.
shows how good the scouting's been with the scouting's been great with hitters, like amazing. Like you look at all these
Correct.
guys that they're finding, like Lars Nootbaars and Donovan's in the middle rounds. They've got to find a way to not everyone's gonna reach their potential. Actually, no one will reach their maximum potential. No one ever will. Because Albert Pujols could have hit 800 home runs. He only hit 703. But they got to develop a star. That's the point we're at now. Like teams don't win without stars. The Cardinals don't even have anyone close. Like
I
Wilson's an all-star catcher, but that's a different category of star than an all-star third baseman.
I hate that we're having this discussion in August because we thought we'd be having the discussion of where are we going to be hopefully for the playoffs.
And
And
hopefully we
also,
will in
by
a
the
week,
way,
2 weeks, maybe.
let me say we got cooked a little bit in the comments as well for the I told you so people, which by the way, on the podcast, I told you would come out in droves. You were right. Like, what do you want us to say? We came on, it feels like last podcast and said, we were wrong. We thought this was and it was going to happen. We thought this was going to happen. We thought our offense was going to the next level. We thought whatever. It didn't happen. I don't believe for a fact. Like I think people who say, "Oh, I saw it coming," really just were pessimistic and didn't
Yeah.
want to believe in the team.
It,
That's what I believe.
it's also like we never said that we also actually said that a lot of times the way they were winning was not sustainable. Our belief was they're winning now without offense. Imagine what happens if the offense comes
Right.
around. Then they're going to win a lot of games. The offense never came around. So this is where we're at.
Let's talk a little bit, and we don't spend a lot of time on this because there's going to be so much change over the next 2 to 3 months, and going into the off season and everything else. But if you again put the GM hat on, or the Pobo, whichever one you want to put on, what do you do with the starting rotation for 2025? Like, what would you like to see? I think it's a hot button topic because a month ago we were talking about, hey, we need let's bring Kyle Gibson back. I feel like that's kind of not a thing anymore. Lance Lynn, love him. I'll say it again. He sits on the Mount Rushmore, probably for me, of all time favorite Cardinal pitchers. Just I have a very sentimental reasons for loving him. However, it's time for him to move on. You're kind of stuck with Fetty. You've
I
got
mean,
Sonny
that's
Gray,
a great
and I don't
contract
mean
still.
stuck. I please don't. I didn't mean it that way. I mean
Yeah.
you've got it. That's a good contract. You've got Matz, you've got Michaelis, you got Gray, you got Lynn. What do you do with those four guys? And we're seeing the dominance of Quinn Matthews at AA, who just dominated again last night.
He's been awesome.
I'm not going to rush him. I'm not going to be that guy who says, "Oh, get him in the rotation." If he is awesome,
He'll be
if
up
he's
next year
not,
at
let's
some
let him
point.
develop a little bit
Yeah.
further. You got Tink Hintz coming on. We've seen McGreevy and Graceffo show that they can perform at the major league level. Now, very small sample size. I understand that. But what would you like to see with the rotation in 2025?
Can I say what I'd like to see and not what they will do?
That was the question. Yes, I
Okay.
want you to be the GM. We don't know what Heim Bloom's going to do if he's here. We don't know what Mo's going to do. Well, we kind of do, but I'd like you to tell me what you would do.
Okay, here's what I would do. My three guys that I would for sure have in there that are currently on the team are Sonny Gray, Eric Fetty, and Andre Palante. Those three are in my rotation to start the year, given health, obviously. Gibson and Lynn, thanks for your service. I'm not bringing you back. There's no reason to. I'm not running back any more stopgaps. I'm tired of it. There's no reason. It's not even producing wins, so you're just wasting money, honestly. Not to say those guys haven't been good. They'll go somewhere else and pitch probably decently next year. I just don't think it's in St. Louis. And then I'm trading Mats because I think you can trade him. Like 11 million to 12 million dollars. That's valuable for a guy that has a lot of upside if he's healthy. He's never healthy, but I would try and trade him. And then Michaelis, I'm either DFAing him, and telling ownership, sorry about it. Like your last guy ruined this because I'm a new Probo right now. Your last guy gave him this contract. He shouldn't have, but he's gone. Or I'm calling everyone and saying I'll pay half the contract if you just take him.
The Dexter Fowler treatment,
Right.
essentially.
Like
Yeah. Mike Leake.
I'll give you 12 million of the 18 million if you take him. Free me up $6 million and let me get a young starter in here. Because Miles Michaelis has done a lot of good things in the organization for the Cardinals. He's had 2 really great years. He's legitimately one of the worst stars in baseball this year. And regardless, it's a sunk cost fallacy. You're paying him anyway. You might as well spend that $18 million and also be better.
What did you call that?
Sunk cost fallacy.
What I haven't heard it.
Sunk cost fallacy.
Sunk costs. Okay. All right.
What do you think?
I thought you said Sun Coast, and I was so confused. I was
No,
like,
sunk cost.
It's a Florida fallacy. I'm so confused. Are you making fun of the Marlins? I was confused. Okay, got it.
I know, but I will if you want.
No. Well, you're gonna have that guy as your future manager probably. So
probably.
Which love Skip. Hope he's great if he is here. Yeah. Okay. So then at that point, are you opening it up for the 4 young guys to compete for 2 spots? Are you going out and spending money on a Max Fried or a guy like that who's a free agent? Are you just at this point? Are you just opening up then to those 4 guys? Zach Thompson, Matthew Liberatore, throw them in there. Like, what are you doing?
Not them. No, I don't want to see them start anymore. It would be, I would say, hey, Graceffo, McGrady, we haven't given you guys chances. You have a chance. And I'll say everyone, like, Tim Kansas doesn't have a chance for me. Let that kid figure out his injury problems. Let him figure it out. He's not ready to take on a major league workload. You would have to do the Jared Jones thing anyway, where he has fake injuries all the time to get under the innings limit.
We do that anyway here. They're called impingements.
There's no benefit to that. Let him pitch in AAA, in my opinion. Quinn Matthews, though, like, legitimately, I think they should probably get into AAA in the last couple of weeks here, just so we can see what it looks like there. But he would have a shot for me, if he continues to do what he's doing, to force my hand. But it wouldn't be something I would be eager to do.
Can we just go ahead and have Quinn Matthews have Tommy John surgery now, so he's ready for 26?
Knock on wood.
I know. I'm not saying I think that'll happen. That just feels like as soon as he gets where we're going to want him to be, like
Carl's actually been, relative to the league, very lucky with Tommy John surgery.
Agreed. I agree. It does seem like maybe there's something out there that pitchers are doing.
Because we don't have guys that throw hard. That's legitimately why.
Now, if you'd like to, if you're Mark, or what's his name, Mark Andrews, is that his name? Andrews, the big Tommy John, the big elbow doctor. No, if he wants to make a lot more money, he needs to go to Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and just start getting phone numbers, because that's where he's going to make a fortune in the next 3 to 4 years. But either way, we can move on from that. So I think that's interesting. In the bullpen, you got Riley O'Brien will be back. You got Fernandez back. You've got Helsley back. You've got Liberatore back. Who can we just go ahead and put him in the bullpen and say, this is what you're doing for a full 162? That'd be nice.
Thought they were doing that this year, but they went back on it 8 times.
They hate him for some reason. So, like, if they could do that,
he's a swing man, right? Like we've seen how so many times how they want swing men. They just don't know how to manage that position at all.
What I should know this, but I did not look this up. JoJo and Kittredge, what do their contracts look like?
Kittredge is a free agent, and JoJo's making league minimum.
Okay. Now the one plus, and I've heard Jim Hayes talk about it. I've heard Chip Carey talk about it. I've heard Brett Thompson talk about it. Evidently, Keenan Middleton is like around the team nonstop.
I'm bringing him
trying
back.
to help with them. I love that.
Yeah, I'm bringing him back. He has an option. I'm bringing him back.
That's absolutely they have to.
Especially if he has that much value out there. The one interesting name that we can talk about, because Ryan Fernandez, all those guys, those are great options. Younger guys with team control. What do you do with Ryan Helsley is the question. And it really just honestly depends on whether or not they're looking to win. And if they are, you keep him. There's no brainer, to my opinion. But is there a world where you say, you know what, we're probably not going to re-sign him, because if he's healthy, which I hope he is, he's going to get a Josh Hader type contract, and they're not giving that out. We know that, especially if Heimblum's here, because he doesn't give out. That's be the opposite of why they brought him in. Then you trade him, and maybe you get something really valuable back. Like maybe you get, Colby Mayo. I'm throwing out names, but maybe you get something like that for him. And would you look into that? Like, imagine if you could do that. Go to the Orioles and say Colby Mayo, and there's your first. There's
well, they got their guy coming back. They got the Mountain coming back next year. So I don't think that's.
Tell me they want him and Felix Bautista.
Well, they also have all the other guys. That's all I'm saying is I don't think they give up a Mayo for a guy who's like that. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, it depends. Like if they flame out in the postseason again and they lose and they get swept again.
Yeah. But now, can I tell you, the people viewing right now would say, well, that's what we wanted them to do at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a different position. I will always stand by the fact that in the middle of the season, if you have a chance to win, you should try to win. It
I
didn't
do
work.
respect that about you big time. So that's good. Do you think there's any talk? We've had Kyle on here to talk about it. I don't think Kareem's really talked about it as much, but I know that Kyle has. Do you think there's any thought that they're going to make Ryan Helsley a potential, give him an opportunity to start?
The only way I would do that is if you already had an extension in place with him.
Okay,
Personally, just that's what I would do because if he is great as a starter, then he's really going to price himself out of St. Louis anyway.
right. I didn't know
But yeah, I would
what
if
your
he's
thought
here, I would
process.
definitely give him that shot. Like
Seems
they
like we're
won't.
maybe you think they're 3 years too late on that, like they were with Hicks, like they were with Reyes, like they were with
And also,
fill in the
like
blank.
we've seen with Hicks, it's tough to manage that.
Yeah.
Like he's back in the bullpen right now. He has some injury stuff. He's flaming out. It's tough to build guys back up. It's just like Ronaldo Lopez, who's been awesome this year after getting that chance, is hurt
Well,
right now.
Garrett Crochet, they got him down to 3 to 4 innings a night now. That's all they're throwing him
Yeah,
when he starts. It's
that's
like,
also because
what?
they're
Just
really.
shut him down, for God's sake. Just shut
I
him
want
down.
I want to be opposed to it, but is there any world that like let's say that goes well and he's a really great starter, which would be awesome. Is there any world where he can throw 180 innings next year? There's no way. That's too much.
No,
There's no way.
I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't.
That's just too much of an ask for him.
Yeah, just feels like that's another one that they're too late on. That's all I
Yeah,
can
I mean
say.
he should have been a starter when he got here and he wasn't. So
You think there's any world where Herrera's back up in September?
they would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it, right? To have him back. No, actually, because guess who's gonna be coming off the IL?
Matt
Matt
Carpenter.
Carpenter. But if in the world that they say, okay, Siani's back and we're seeing Scott down and Carpenter, whatever.
Victor
It makes
Scott
a lot
playing
of
great
sense.
defense, by the way.
It make a lot of sense just even from a baseball standpoint, because you can then DH Pajes or Contreras play Pajes if you want to. And we saw that yesterday, the first time they've done this, where they were okay with dropping the DH and pinch hitting for Pajes, Newbar hit a bomb. So
Right.
they can do that more often because they wouldn't have to drop the DH. So I don't
Let me
know.
ask you this, since we just talked about it. Two things looking towards 25. Let's talk about that Pajes versus Herrera. Jimmy Crooks, by the way, still rolling in the minors. Now, I have not looked at what he's done this week, but I think did he just get promoted again?
I think he's in Double A, isn't he?
Still a double A. I thought maybe there was talk that he was going to Memphis, but I guess with Herrera there, that makes zero sense. So
Yeah.
never mind. What do you think? I mean, they've fallen in love again. And by the way, I'd like to apologize. I gave Bernie credit for talking about attaching yourself to the right person. That was actually Kyle who said that on Twitter. That there's people who have attached themselves to the right people, and that seems to work out well. He was talking about Pi, so I just wanted to clear that up. It wasn't Bernie, it was Kyle. But what do you? I mean, Herrera. They going to trade it? Like they've just screwed him up again. Like that's added to the
Okay, don't
list.
say that. They haven't screwed him up.
No, they screwed up. Not him up.
The
I phrased
situation.
that wrong. They've screwed up the situation. That's what I meant.
But I don't know. Pius had the longest home run the Cardinals have hit since 2021.
It looked like it was 30 feet farther too than what they said.
He crushed that ball. I actually like Pius. I think he's a good backup catcher. I just think they have a better one in the system that they're not using. I don't know, man. Like commit to Herrera and once again development. Figure out why he can't throw runners out and fix him. He's better than he has such a higher, not even just a higher ceiling. He's the better player right now, I think, than Pius.
All right,
So
can I say this? Can I say this? And I know that we love him. Like literally, he's one of our favorite Cardinals and was that way as soon as we signed him. But is there a world that Heim Bloom comes in and says, thank you? Like Wilson Contreras' value is never going to be higher, probably,
no,
than it is
he's
right
making too
now
much
coming
money.
off of this season.
That no one wanted to sign him when he was a free agent coming off an All-Star season.
Okay, but I think they thought that he was going to decline. Like we've seen him not decline.
He's my cornerstone in my franchise right now.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to ask. I wanted to bring
I
it
think
up
he's
because I think it's an interesting idea.
I think next year you go into the offseason and say, Wilson, you're the team leader. Do what you got to do. Be the voice in the clubhouse. Be everything you need to be. That's what I would do because I think he can be that guy. I don't think they have anyone else that can, other than like maybe Donovan who can mature into that. He's got to play better to earn that title, obviously. Right or wrong, you just have to play well in Major League Baseball for people to respect you. He's played better lately, but I'm keeping Contreras just because I think he's valuable to have around. Also, man, it would suck so bad if we never get to see that guy in the playoffs with the Cardinals.
By the way, you know how I feel about
Do you
Wilson
imagine like that got that
Contreras.
energy? We've never had it.
Yeah.
Have we ever had a player with that level of like intensity? Other than Chris Carpenter, like not position player in the playoffs. Yachty, maybe is that it?
Yeah, Yachty.
Like Albert was amazing, but he wasn't that. I want to
No,
kill you.
I agree with you. Do you think Nato's back here next year?
Yeah, because okay, so I've been on talking about this a lot about how I thought it was a good idea to try and trade him if he was open to it. His contract gets pretty reasonable down the down the stretch of his contract. It goes down to 26 next year, then down to like 21 and then 18, I think is what it is. So like I keep him, I guess. Like, are you gonna get someone better? Are you gonna get anything in return? Are you trading him to the Dodgers for nothing? Like, what is it that you're gonna get for him? If you can get value out of him, then do it. But he's still an above average major league player,
Let
you
me
know.
ask you this is my last put the cap on question for you. What do you do with the whole Michael Ciani, Victor Scott? Like you can't really have both of them in there like next year. Do you have both of them on the team? Like that's
Yeah.
another left like Ciani, just another left-handed bat. Like that's just on like he's not a bat off the bench. Are you going to bring him in for Newbar or Walker? Like is that what you're kind of looking at? And then you're going to move into right field. Like that's kind of where I'm looking at with that.
I think I go into the season and I say Victor Scott, I'm planning on him being my center fielder. If he really gets off to a bad spring training and there's some swing problems, then send him to AAA. I'm fine with that too. But I would go in the same way they did with Mason Wynn this offseason and say, yeah, didn't have a good first year, but I'm planning on you being my everyday center fielder. And Ciani, at the worst, is a great off defensive replacement and base runner.
Okay, that's fair.
Like he definitely earned a spot on the team. They're both on my team. Unless Victor Scott has some stuff once again he needs to figure out AAA, in which case you can still do that with him.
What are you doing with Donovan next year?
Now he's starting every day somewhere. Depends on
Some
performance. It
okay.
wouldn't
I
be
mean,
a
you just got to figure
surprise.
if you got Newt, Victor Scott, and Walker. See, it feels like let's go ahead and play those guys.
Yeah.
You got
I mean,
Gorman. Let's go ahead and play him. You got. I guess you're counting on Burley. So you're counting on no significant offensive additions if they let Goldie walk, is what
I
you're
wouldn't
saying.
add anyone to the offense.
Okay. Okay.
Unless once again they're really trying to win, in which case, if you're serious about it, you need to go trade for a superstar.
Right.
You need or sign Pete Alonso, he's not a star, but or trade for Bo Bichette or do something crazy that no one thinks is gonna happen. But that won't happen. So I just want to I'm not gonna go out and sign, maybe bring back Tommy Pham if you're not gonna play him every day. But I'm not going out and signing some 33-year-old to a 10-year contract, just grasping at straws.
I got you. All right. Before we get out of here, just I got a couple more things. Obviously, we got the Brewers coming up for 3 here at Busch. I've been completely wrong on them. I know that everybody on Twitter wants to talk about Mike Shildt being the manager of the year. It's going to be Pat Murphy, as it should. It shouldn't even be close. It should be unanimous. What he's done, taking the reins over for Craig Counsell, and what he's done with that team. Biggest lead in baseball, division lead at 11 games right now. I think what he's done has been incredible. I don't understand. Devin's back and looks incredible as well. That team just keeps playing very well without Yelich, by the way. Do you have any expectations for the Cardinals to play well against the Brewers this week?
I mean, no. I mean, it would be ridiculous to have expectations. I hope they do. Like, I'm not even gonna give a prediction because I just don't even know. Like,
No, there's no
odds
reason
are
to.
they lose 2 of 3. It'd be great if they don't. Like, honestly, for me, you know what I care about in the series? I want to see Eric Fetty have a good outing. That's what I care about. Everything, and I want to see Walker play against the righties. He won't. And if he doesn't, I want to see Nolan Gorman have a good series. Like that's what I'm watching for right now. Like I said, if they sweep them, and then you look up and oh wow, the Braves lost 2 of 3, and now they're 3 games back, we can have that conversation when that happens. But for now, I'm just watching the young guys and Fetty, guys that are going to be a big part of the team next year and maybe moving forward, and hoping that they can figure some things out.
With your newfound love of golf, are you going to the game to get the golf hat tomorrow night?
Oh, is Freddie Peralta throwing tomorrow? Then I would. I don't think he is.
I don't know that answer,
Oh,
and
it's Montas.
I'm not gonna look it up.
Yeah, no, I'm not going. No, I'm not going.
No more great podcasting here. Just a couple of things before we get out of here that I wanted to hit on. Give me your thoughts right off the cuff of the 6 inning starting pitcher rule.
I think it's absolutely hilarious that rule comes with the caveat of allowing 4 or more earned runs or throwing 100 pitches. Like that's not the reason that most of these guys don't go 6 anyway. You morons. Like I think it is so stupid. Here's what I will say. I do think there's a lot of value in trying to bring back the excitement behind starting pitching matchups. I think that's a great thing for the game. Like I love seeing like even yesterday. I don't think the Cardinals are very good right now, and Sonny Gray's been bad. But I was excited to see Kershaw versus Sonny Gray. I like pitching matchups. And I think there's value in trying to say, hey, fans are coming to the games expecting to see these 2 guys go up against each other, and that's like the event of the day. Um, it's just stupid. Like you shouldn't force anyone to make their pitcher stay in there. Like so if there's 3 earned runs and bases loaded, it's not acceptable to take him out. He has to
I
get up that fourth first. So intentionally walk him
Unbelievable.
and then you can take him out. Like it makes no sense to me.
The
I do think I also think this is kind of they're like 3 years too late because we saw in the offseason, Blake Snell, the five and dive guy who nobody trusts to pitch 180 innings, got like what was squeezed out by the market. And Aaron Nola got one of the biggest starting pitching contracts of all time, a guy who's not as dominant, but will go 7 innings on a regular basis. I think teams are already valuing that more because of how many injuries we're seeing. Like we're seeing guys like Aaron Nola, Sonny Gray, Kyle Gibson, and Lance Lynn still pitching because they're going to give you 180 to 200 innings more times than not. It's already being valued more. So I think they're like 3 years too late on even trying to make this change.
Yeah, I just hate when leagues, corporations, fill in the blank, school districts try to force something.
Yeah,
Like instead of just let it naturally occurring. We've seen the waves of baseball forever, and they all cycle back like very often. Some things will not come back. We're never going to see the Bob Gibsons probably ever again. At least I'm probably not going to see that. That might happen in 80 years. I don't know. But let's just let the game
it's
like go.
it's also like what so what happens if so we had this earlier this year with Sonny where he comes back from the injured list and makes a start that he could have made in AAA, but he decided to throw like 70 pitches at the big leagues. Is that not allowed? They have to go through. Yeah, you like what? You don't allow them to do that. They have to go to AAA then now.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I don't quite understand it.
I get what they're trying to do. I just don't like. I just don't think. I think you kind of like have to let baseball itself figure it out more so than you intervening.
The last thing I've got, and then if you've got anything else, that's fine. Big shout out to Randall Grichuk for getting his 10 years in the show. We've talked about on here before. James McCann also got that, I think, this week for the Orioles. But
Wow, good for him.
I know. He was on this morning on our MLB, but either way, shout out to Grichuk. That's awesome. Like we've talked about that. That's lifetime. I mean, investment. I think vesting. I think it's 10%. Is that right? Of players get to that, I think is what it is. It's roughly that area.
Yeah, that's high for a sports league.
Yeah, I think that there's like been roughly 20,000 players to play in the league, and he's like near 2,000 to ever do it, like in the history of baseball. Like,
Yeah.
so shout out to him. That's incredible. That's his family. He and his family are set for life. But also, what a cool thing. Like that's awesome.
Another Cardinals outfielder who could have stayed here
Yes,
and helped. I love Randall Grichuk. He was one of my favorite players
same.
here. Um, my last thing, we said this. I said this. I think last episode. Otani hit a home run versus the Cardinals. He hit two of them actually, which means he now has hit a home run against every team in Major League Baseball. He's
Unbelievable.
insane. He's so good. Like he went two for 13 this series, which is not good. But his two hits were home runs, and he still made a bigger impact than basically any Cardinal player besides
The
Mason Wynn.
Cardinals hit a
Also,
few home runs, 6 home runs.
Shout out Mason Wynn for hitting two homers.
And they hit 6 in the series against the Dodgers. If you told me that, I would have thought you'd been lying. So
yeah.
All right, that face says
You
it
told me
all.
to hit 6 home runs. I would have thought they won two of the games. Probably.
Hey, the awesome thing is our next podcast on Thursday, you'll be in a whole nother location. So the Where's Caleb continues as you will be back for your final semester at University of Illinois. Are you excited? Are you ready to get that over with? Can you go ahead and get a job and start making some money, please?
I just had a job. First off.
Well, you worked with me at the golf course. Let's relax.
Okay, then can you get a job? Then I didn't.
I'm retired. I've had a job.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm not excited about going back to school. No, not really. I'm ready to get over with.
One more semester. Hey, Illinois football will be bad again, so you got that to look forward to.
Yeah, I get to cover it this year. That's fun.
Oh, that'll be good for you.
Yeah, they're gonna suck.
All right, let's get out of here. Nothing else. Look, go out if you're in town and you want to. Go see the Cardinals play the Brewers. Yesterday, they showed a shot of Big Mac Land as the Dodgers were in town. It looked like there might have been 8 people in the entire Big Mac Land. So I don't know if they all just moved down or what they're doing, or no one is going. It was a Sunday afternoon. Felt like maybe there should be more people to see Otani, to see Mookie, to see the Dodgers, to see Kershaw for potentially one of the last times. You never know
The
how
last
long
time I
that
think
guy's
we'll
going to
ever see
pitch.
him in St. Louis.
Last thing I want to say before we get out of here, I'm sorry. For you, if you haven't seen it yet, that it's coming out. I think it comes out this weekend. The Greg Maddux documentary on MLB Network looks unbelievable. Like some of the stuff that I've seen, the back footage looks great. Is Clayton Kershaw the greatest pitcher? And I'll leave you with this. And we can talk about it next time since Greg Maddux.
So do you consider? No, he's the greatest pitcher since Randy Johnson.
Okay. All right,
That's
that's fair.
possible.
We can talk about that next time.
Randy
I want to
Johnson's
watch the
early.
documentary. I'm really Greg Maddox, one of my all time favorites. Like I'm really excited to watch that. But just Kershaw, again, that's another guy I talk about quite often. I don't think we enjoy how great it is until it's over. And I just think what he's, I mean, my God, look how well he pitched yesterday. Just what he's done is unbelievable.
So I'll leave with this. He's awesome, and he just doesn't miss over the heart of the plate. It's unbelievable. He's pitched 17 seasons in the big leagues, which is crazy because he's like 36. 17 seasons in the big leagues. 2 years he's had an ERA above 3, and one of them it was 3.01.
Unreal.
He's incredible. He's the best pitcher I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. All right. All right.
I didn't get to watch the prime of Pedro and Randy and Greg Maddox. So.
Yeah, those were the days, bro. Those were
He
the
still
days.
won an
That whole era
MVP,
of
which is
baseball was incredible. All right, let's
regardless.
get out of here. Everybody have a fantastic week. Next time, Caleb will be back in Champaign. I will be back in this oven that we call a front bedroom where Caleb resided this summer. I don't know how you lived in here, dude. It is so hot.
It wasn't easy.
All right, I'm heading out to the cold part of the house. Guys, we will talk to you soon. Go Cards.